All right, welcome everybody to the Office 365 Pulse. We're excited to share with you our weekly roadmap updates. And I'm going to start because I can, and I have one that I'm really excited about. This is new vertical site templates for nonprofit, retail, and healthcare. So I'm excited about this. They're in development. So in development means Microsoft is making them. So they're working on them, they're designing them, maybe getting customer feedback, but they're working on them, not deployed yet, but in development. So that is one that's going to be coming out. So what that means is you'll create a SharePoint site, and then when you say next, it's going to say, hey, would you like to add some pre-configured templates to it? And so those would be templates that would naturally fit that environment. They're going to give you things to get started. So I'm excited about seeing some more of those vertical templates. And so we'll see what happens with that. But that's one of the things on the list that I was happy to see. Happy to see what comes with it. So now I'll pass it to the team, see what they're excited about, and we'll kind of go from there. So Tamara, passing it over to you.
All right. Well, Microsoft Viva got a ton of love this week. So there's sync learning management systems with learning. There's connect third-party learning providers to learning. There's
now important to remember though, this is in development, so not done.
These are in development. Yeah. Don't get too excited.
Don't get too excited. It's coming.
Save your excitement. These are due out the end of November.
Which is awesome.
Save your excitement for the end of November. Yes, which is why I think they're all in development and plan to roll out in November. So there's also add the Viva Learning app to Microsoft Teams, search for learning content in the Learning app in Microsoft Teams. So basically, they're just getting you into Microsoft Teams and you never have to leave. So everything's getting connected with Microsoft Teams. Social learning features, recommended learning content, and track completion progress, which I think is neat. So it recommends a learning course to one or more individuals with options to set a due date for the completion and capture of additional information via notes. So for all recommendations, the recommender can view reported completion progress of each of the recommendees. Recommendees can view recommendations made to them along with information of who recommended notes from the recommender and due date. So as content is consumed, the recommendees can update the status of the recommendation to in progress or completed, and users get notifications for new recommendations and notifications for recommendations approaching the due date and notifications for overdue recommendations. So I think this is going to be a great way to do guided learning within your environment. And then there's feature learning content organization. Learning, you'll have a My Learning view, and users will be able to view and track learning content assigned and recommended to them, and bookmark content, recently viewed courses and completed courses on this particular page. And then Viva Learning for mobile rolling out, learning content discovery based on users' interest, content consumption for Viva Learning, briefing email for government community cloud. So this is a daily briefing email, a personalized actionable briefing email from Microsoft Viva, which the commercial tenant is getting now, automatically delivered to your inbox to help you start the day and stay on track and track tasks. And it'll be available for GCC come December. And that's all the love for Microsoft Viva.
Now, I'm going to just say.
Yeah.
Microsoft Viva has been a thing for many, many, many months. My hand disappears when I go behind this magic door there. But Microsoft Viva has been a thing for many, many, many months. It's not possible that just this week they came up with that many items to be in development. It's not possible. So somebody's been storing them on a different list and just decided to add them to the roadmap.
Like a squirrel with nuts in their cheeks.
Yeah, there's no way that those have been like, we're just this week, we're going to come up with all of these items that have been in development. I think they're trying to reduce the time on the roadmap. So.
Well, and I think too, if you looked at a lot of those being November, that becomes really close to the SharePoint conference or the Microsoft 365 collaboration conference in Vegas during that first week of December. So it sounds like they're kind of prepping everything for, here's a number of announcements available now for things that are out there on Viva, because Viva obviously is going to be a big thing for them there. So
yeah, could be, but they're definitely like timing that for how long, which,
oh, yeah.
which gives us insight into how they're using the roadmap. So okay, we can see that there, but there's no way that they just assigned a team to Viva and just started working on it. So I think that's kind of funny there. So all right, Tom, why don't you go ahead and talk to us?
So I've got a couple things here. A couple items from Microsoft Stream in the Stream Classic, Stream Classic, new Stream, Classic Stream. Admins are going to be able to permanently delete videos in bulk from the tenant recycle bin. So if you've got things that have been deleted and they're kind of backing up in the recycle bin, instead of having to delete them one at a time, you're going to be able to go through and do bulk deletions. Don't know how big of a thing that is, but you should be seeing it in October. It is in development, so sometime here soon. And also in Microsoft Stream, toggle video or audio features on or off for all viewers. So if you have edit permission to a video, and this is only if you're actually storing it in SharePoint or OneDrive, so the new Stream, if you have edit access to that, you can go in and toggle your audio and video features on or off, such as transcripts or comments, and that's going to affect the video for everyone. So that's probably good in most cases, but just keep in mind, if you're like, I think everybody can have edit access, you may have things pop on and off that you're wondering, how come it's there, it wasn't yesterday type thing, because they can turn it on for everybody now, not just themselves. One other thing that's coming up, which I'm kind of interested to see how this actually plays out, and it's due for November, and it'll hit worldwide GCC and GCC High in Germany, is SharePoint updated site creation experience. So they're basically updating the site creation experience, which has been the same pretty much forever, I think, to make it easier for site creators to select the right type of SharePoint site, understand the roles and site permissions. Update to this experience includes refreshed graphics, expanded site descriptions, and more context for different permission levels in the site permissions panel. Now, I'm really kind of sad that they didn't have 15 variations of the word recommendation anywhere in this entry for, for recommendee, recommendation, recommended, I was, can you conjugate that verb for me? But that is due in November. I think that'll be interesting to see how different that makes the site creation experience. I'm not sure whether it'll be better or worse. It'll just be primarily different.
So I'm excited about this one, but the challenge I'm going to give every one of us who has been creating sites for years, because we have done this for years, is we need to go to someone who's never created a site. So Tamara, we're going to pick Andy in marketing. And we're going to go, Andy, I need you to create a SharePoint site. Do it the new way. And walk through this. And Andy, Phil, does this make sense to you guys? And we're going to see how easy it is for them. Because the problem is right now is it makes sense to us because we've done it a gabillion years and we know what it means. The new stuff is going to make us we're going to cringe. We're going to our lips are going to curl up and we are going to be angry the first time we say it. I just want to put that out there. We are going to hate it and we are going to say this is difficult and we are going to hate change. So go ask your mom to create a SharePoint site. Go ask someone who doesn't know how to do it to create a SharePoint site. Hopefully you won't even have to explain to them what is a SharePoint site. Go ask them to create an area to collaborate and share data and see what happens, right? That is what we're going for. We have to remember there's a limited number of us and a lot of them. So we need to just remember that when this comes out. This is change, y'all.
I have to laugh when you say, have your mom do it. I remember a number of years ago, we're working on this major project. We're having to do these specs for things that are going to be coming through the system. And I remember one of the management people going, this spec needs to be written such that you could give it to anybody on the street and they could build this. I'm thinking, if we're giving our specs to anybody on the street to build stuff, we are really in trouble.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw one more out there because I'm
Awesome.
thinking we'll probably go into rolling out after that. And
Oh,
again,
no,
it's
there's
Microsoft.
one more that I know Tamara or I will talk about. But go for it.
Is this the Microsoft Viva Focus Time experience?
No, go for it.
Okay, in which case I will run with this one. Microsoft Viva Focus Time experiences in Viva Insights app in Microsoft Teams. So they're going to be rolling out a new experience that expands the focus time features in the Viva Insights. Normally, you know, this allows you to work uninterrupted with team notification silence. The focus mode is now going to enrich the focus time experience by helping users make progress on important work with focus music from Headspace. And I find that really funny because for some people, focus music will be and other people go wham, 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 wham. So I don't know how they're going to bridge that gap there, you know, but somewhere in there, there's going to be focus music from Headspace. This immersive experience includes notification and a new focus mode page, which is interesting because they say users will be able to enroll or modify their focus plan settings. So I'm sure you could say like from 8 to 10 every morning, I'm going to have 2 hours of focus time. Do not interrupt me. Or book ad hoc focus time in the Teams app. So this is all in November. It'll be interesting to see how that rolls out. I still haven't fully embraced the focus time concept, mainly because I'm not sure I like the idea that I don't get notification, which I understand is why you have focus time. But I'm still trying to work with that concept as opposed to just say, hey, I'm going to block 2 hours out on my calendar. You can't book a meeting and don't bother me because I'm busy. So, but yeah, that's coming up in November.
Oh, well, Tamara, do you want to take the last one or do you want me to?
Go for it.
All right, so Microsoft Teams support for guest users with credentials managed by the host tenant. We're going to just have a dance here. When this comes out, the whole world might hear Tamara and I just have a party. So what this means is this is for DoD and GCCI worldwide. So it means that you can have internal guests with credentials managed by the resource tenant. And so for those of you that are not in this space, for those of you that do not play in DIB, for those of you that do not play with the DoD, this means that guests are going to be able to visit DoD tenants for meetings and have it a managed, safe experience without having to go paste into a browser that's a private browser, pasting it in and doing this little like, did I connect to the meeting? What is going on? They're going to fix it. It's coming in. I believe it is October. Crossing our fingers, crossing our fingers. So we're coming, guys. We're coming. This is the thing that is going to make you guys like, you know, you guys have been complaining. We had to leave CVR and now we're on DODJ 365. We're on Flank Speed. We're on all of these others and it's not as good as it was. Well, we had to get there. And this is one of those last pieces. And when we get there, you guys are going to be so happy. We're going to be so happy. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. So that is, I think, our favorite. That's my favorite. When it's coming, there's going to be hallelujahs everywhere. So that one is in development. So I'm telling you.
I know it's wrong to smoke at work, but seriously, this makes me have a cigarette. I am that excited.
Yeah, y'all, it's going to be. The angels are like shining a light on Tom right now, it looks like.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So that
okay,
one is coming.
You keep talking. I'm going to see if I can adjust the blinds here.
All right. Well, rolling out.
Oh my gosh.
It is starting to roll into all of the tenants. So I'm going to let Tamara go first on this one because I just stole the thunder on my favorite because I just can't stand it on the other one. So Tamara, what is rolling out that you love?
Well,
looks like teams.
Oh, well, it's team
all
rooms.
About teams. It's all about the team's rooms.
Which is crazy because Teams Rooms had a big week just the other week. They had another big week. So they're still in the big weeks. Yeah.
So they're rolling out a lot of stuff there. But the one that gets me excited is presenter mode in desktop or Windows for sharing in GCC High and DoD. This is exciting to me because this is the reason why a lot of the presentations in DoD and GCC High are live events. so they can have the presentational material plus the speaker at the same time.
Mhm.
And really, they're only having meetings with like 300 people. So this, I think, is going to be great in taking the load off of live events, because the concurrent number of sessions is going back down to 15 after January 1st. So concurrent sessions will be 15, that's 1-5, no longer 50, 5-0. And that changes December 31st. So what the presenter mode does is it has standout, reporter, and side-by-side presenter modes are now available when sharing a window or your desktop. Standout overlays your video on top of the content for a more immersive presenting experience. Reporter places the content as a visual aid above your shoulder, like in a news story. And then side by side displays your video feed next to your content, much like it does in live events. And presenter mode for PowerPoint live sharing is coming in the future. So this is now rolling out to DoD and GCC High, should be rolled out by the end of October.
You know, what's interesting is this is a scenario where I think we can look at it, an example of what Microsoft does with telemetry, right? You look at live events and, you know, they get telemetry about what we're doing. Now, they're not, don't think of it as so much Big Brother that they know exactly what we're doing, but they know we're hosting a lot of live meetings and we're hosting a lot of live events with small numbers of users. And that probably makes them go, we're using a lot of resources with small numbers of users. And that probably makes somebody go, why? What is missing from Teams and Teams meetings that is making them do that? So that probably made them dig into additional telemetry, or it made somebody have to ask questions and figure it out. And that's probably what pushed something like presenter mode or something like that to the top of a development feature. Because if you can give us these features, we'll go back to meetings and then we can save all of the additional resources doing this. So I think it's important to point out that, like, this is how telemetry works when we're in the cloud, and how features are gonna, you know, ebb and flow and different things like that. So, you know, I don't have the insight into that, but that's how I like to think about the examples as we see these things coming in and out of the roadmap. And as we're watching the roadmap this closely, those are the things that I like to highlight and say, okay, this could be a really good example of something like that. How about you, Tom? What do you think?
So I'm going to kind of do a quick run by that'll take 95% of the remaining items that we have out there.
I support that.
Microsoft Teams, as Jen mentioned early, the Teams Room console or version of Teams on Windows is getting a slew of updates that are in the rolling out stage. And many of these changes are ones that you're used to seeing in your regular Teams meetings. You know, you're like, what do you mean it wasn't there before? Well, now it's there. So you've got such items as the updated meeting roster viewable on the Teams Room console, more closely aligns with the experience available through the Teams desktop client. Dynamically view automatically optimizes shared contents and video participants. You've got fit to frame by default and provides a full view of the room for Teams desktop apps. What else do you have? You've got the ability to join a large meeting as a presenter or attendee. You've got the ability to lock meetings from the console, like you can, you know, in a regular meeting that you're doing. Ability to view live reactions sent by participants in a Teams meeting. Words are hard today. Ability to pin multiple video streams up to 9 simultaneously. Ability for presenter mode views to appear in the front of room display in a Teams room. The ability to spotlight multiple video streams up to 7. And then finally, content from camera. This actually is not just Microsoft Teams Rooms things. This is Microsoft Teams, period. Content from camera, and I think I talked about this last week. It enables you to share content from physical artifacts such as whiteboards and documents in a high quality and legible way during meetings. All you need is a laptop or PC. If I have my laptop or PC, or I took my camera and put it on the whiteboard, that direction, the whiteboard that you see behind me there, it could recognize that's a whiteboard. And if I then started drawing the whiteboard, it would like blank out my hand and you would just see things being written on there, much like you would see in a virtual whiteboard. Also, if you have a camera that you can put on your document, like a document camera, that document can then become virtual, quote unquote, and you can do updates to it and things like that. So these are a couple cool things to take that bridge between a real world thing into the virtual to where many people can work on it instead of just one person standing in a room by themselves and they're the only ones who can manipulate
Or
things.
how great is that for a virtual meeting or even a hybrid meeting? When some people are in the room and some people aren't, that whiteboard is so key. I mean, it's a tangible
the
thing.
thing is, you know, if you don't have a touch screen on your PC, whiteboarding kind of suffers because trying to do mouse whiteboarding stuff just sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that pen enabled thing, if I could point there and say, okay, here, let me draw stuff, I'm going to get legible, high quality things, as high quality as my drawing goes, on the board. And it's actually going to make sense instead of me trying to sign my name with a mouse and it looks like I just learned to write yesterday, you know. So I think that's a cool thing. I'm looking forward to that feature and seeing how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, cool.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry. I have to drop. I have to go to a 10 o'clock meeting.
No
okay.
problem. We'll finish it out really quickly.
Are we gonna lose your recording when you drop?
No.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right, well, the last two here, sensitivity labels for Teams templates and the Graph API. So if you're creating Teams using templates or the Graph, you are now going to have access to sensitivity labels. So for those who are doing development for creating Teams, those are going to be there now. And then also in Yammer, if you were restricting or if you wanted to restrict who could create a thread in a community, you can do that. So now administrators can create the thread and people can comment. So that's going to be good for like town hall threads or big threads where you maybe want to control what they're talking about. So we have that. So I guess, Tom, let's take it away with Launched. What is going on in Launched?
Okay, so I only have a couple things actually 3 things that I flagged for launch, and
okay.
I'll just go ahead and cover those real quickly. In Exchange Online, tag for external email messages received. So if you have emails coming in from external thing, it can actually put, or external address, it can actually put an external tag on there, which kind of helps with, hey, this is really not your domain, you know, there could be a phishing attempt going on here. Plus can add a mail tip to the top that will be included, basically saying, hey, here's the sender's email address. Do you really want to do this? So I think that's a good thing to cut down on phishing, because that's one of the most popular ways to get information and compromise your systems. Another one is Microsoft Teams reply to a specific message. So when you're chatting with somebody in a Teams chat to, you know, either 1 or 2 or 3 people, you can actually go up to the ellipsis, or drama dots as we like to call them. And one of the options that you have is reply. I think it's labeled reply, but basically enables you to say, okay, on this message up here, I'm going to reply to that message, and it actually copies the text. So it's a quoted reply, basically. It's available in one-on-one, group, and meeting chats. It isn't available, to the best of my knowledge, in conversations that are just part of a channel, which is too bad, because I could see that being really
not available yet. I bet it will come.
It would seem so, but right now, if you're just doing chats in a meeting like the one we're in right here, something, you could do quoted replies, which is great for bringing in the context and maybe referencing something that was like 14 scrolls ago that doesn't make any sense if you just put an answer of, yes, I like that, and they're going, yes, you like what? So that brings it down. That is a really cool feature, and that's launched, so you should have it now. And the other one that I was really surprised when somebody brought this to my attention, because I had missed the fact that it was actually on the roadmap. And when I did a Spark 1 tip and a 1-minute Office Magic tip on it, people were like, oh my gosh, this is so freaking awesome. And that is now in Teams, you can set the default setting for opening Office files. And again, I guess I don't open files from Teams a lot because I'm like, what's that mean? But basically, if you go into files and you click on it, by default, it would open it in Teams, which
and then you lose where you were at in Teams.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
You lost your context. It just sucked. But what if you wanted to open it in the Word client or Excel in the browser? Well, now you can go into Teams and say, hey, when I open a file, I want to either open it by default in the browser, in the desktop, or in Teams. People absolutely thought this was the best thing since the proverbial sliced bread. I'm like, okay, didn't think that was going to be a big one, but yeah, it turned out to be a huge thing. So you should have that now. It's across the board, worldwide, GCC, GCC High, and DoD. Enjoy. Apparently, this is a big thing for many people.
Yep. Well, I've got just a couple I'll do. I'll put on my inner Adam. We've got the Compliance Center. There's 3 new reports that have come out around like compliance sensitivity information types per location is a new report. Compliance policy health check and the ability to pause the policy. And then compliance policy cloning and consumption visibility in the government clouds has come out. So just some new reports and availability in the Compliance Center. And then also the automatic labeling using trainable classifier in the Office apps for Windows and the web Office web apps. And that's for the information protection. And so that's when you're using sensitivity labels and corresponding automatic recommended labeling policies for things like, oh, this might be a resume, this might be source code, this might be a threat, this might be harassment. And so when you're using that automatic labeling, there's some new ways to do training on it and different things like that. And so that's in the information protection policy. So just some new ways and improved ways to do that. And so that's coming out to GCC, DoD, and GCC High. So that's really all I had in launched. So when we get into canceled, we have an interesting one here. SharePoint text web parts automatically added to new section in modern pages. This one was canceled because of feature feedback. So we'll now add test web parts automatically for you when you add new sections to modern pages. People didn't like that, so they're canceling it. So based on customer feedback, they're not going to do that anymore. So they're going to remove that one. We will wait and see. SharePoint team is really good about when they put stuff on pages or do things in pages. If the feedback isn't good, they're going to remove that and come about it a different way. So they're reversing thought on that one. We'll probably hear something new about it, especially at Ignite or the SharePoint conference that's coming up in December. And then Edge, we have a new policy to support more flexibility. That one got canceled. They didn't really give us a lot of information while that one got canceled. So, but they don't really give us a lot of information on what the flexibility means. So since that's subjective, we'll just wait and hear what's coming with that one. And the Compliance Center Advanced Audit Team's reactions on messages, they were going to work on giving us the ability to audit activity related to Team's reactions on messages. It's saying it's being delayed and it will be added back to the roadmap when it actually gets scheduled. So for now, no way to audit reactions, but that might be coming back, or it will be coming back, but no date associated with it. So those are the three canceled items coming out there. So actually 3 traditional actual canceled items this week. So there you go.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, Tom, thank you for finishing out the show with me. We started with 3 amigos and left with the 2.
We have 4 and we ended up with 2.
At least you weren't the last man standing.
No, this is good because I wouldn't want to be the last man standing. Y'all wouldn't like that.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording, but thanks everybody. And we will be back next week with additional updates. Bye.
Bye, everyone.